impeded.
Bethany, I love the sunflowers on your cup. Yes, so cute.
Love me a big mug of coffee.
If that happens again with the other link, I'll pop over and redirect.
Perfect, thank you.
Indeed, and indeed it did.
You jinxed yourself, Lindsay. We're such a virtual world, we don't know. Do we join Teams? Do we join Zoom? Whatever link shows up and we take it. And Lindsay, you started the live stream, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Live is up and running. Give me just a moment to get the I'm so sorry. That other meeting is throwing me off a little, so I apologize.
No, you're great.
To get the recording started here and the slide share up, and then you can take it away.
Well, for everybody that's joining, again, good morning, and thank you for joining the recommendations panel. Okay, good morning. My name is Melissa Schoenberger, and I am the chair of the Early Childhood Recommendations Panel. I am also the Early Childhood Systems Specialist with the Kansas Children's Cabinet and Trust Fund. And just want to welcome all of our panel members this morning and those who are joining via live stream. And we had some of our members join our Teams group. So we're just getting acclimated and getting everybody onto our Zoom link. So just a minute behind. I think we're still doing an amazing job. So appreciate everybody. Remember that today is a remote meeting. All meeting materials can be found on the cabinet's website. And panel members, and I have to remember this myself, please clearly identify yourself when you're begin speaking. And we want everybody to really feel connected with our panel who might be joining on the live stream now or may be viewing our meeting at a later time. So please make sure that you not only say your name, but what organization that you represent, because I personally went through our role and everybody that is a panel member, again, just to reiterate myself and recenter. I'm just so proud of the professionals that we have joining our panel that are part of the membership. So really like that you share what agency or organization you represent. And please use your raise hand feature. And Lindsay or I will make sure that we are constantly looking for that so that I don't just keep talking and miss that. And this meeting is in compliance with the Kansas Open Meetings Act. So this is why we have all of these lovely rules in place, just to make sure that we continue to be in compliance. From a person who spent 20 years in a regulatory program, being in compliance is very important to me. So that's why I like to make sure we're all following the rules. And then for those who are joining, and then I do recognize that still half of our panel is new, that I'd just like to make sure that we have a basic foundation of why we are here today. Like, why are we gathering all of these professionals? Why are we even meeting as part of the recommendations panel? So just wanted to throw in another slide that reminds everybody that we are an advisory group to the Children's Cabinet and Trust Fund, and that we really ground our work in the All In for Kansas strategic plan. We really are a sounding board, and we have lots of conversation, but that conversation is meaningful and really moves us through the ecosystem of the early childhood ecosystem. As I mentioned just a minute ago, I spent my most of my career in a regulatory lens. And what has been most exciting about being a part of the panel and the chair is really being able to widen that lens and look at the early childhood ecosystem from multiple perspectives. So again, as we start our work today and we get into our work groups, I really value the lens that we all bring to the table and hope we can all widen that as we look at recommendations to move forward. Lindsay, if you want to move to the next one. Okay, so everybody had received your agenda earlier this week from Lindsay. And so just a quick recap of where we're going to go today. We're going to go through some housekeeping of approving the agenda and looking at last month's minutes. And then we're going to have a moment on the Kansas Open Forum. We're going to have panel introductions because, again, I value the expertise that you bring to the table. And I want anybody who is listening and live streaming and our fellow panel members to get to know one another. And then we've asked Mandy Waugh with Child Start, who is also a panel member, to do a brief recap of the business summit that Child Start hosted in Wichita. And really, really excited for that presentation today. Then we'll give systems updates. And as promised, we're going to go take a deep dive into our work groups. And then we will have key takeaways, and then we will adjourn for this, lovely Friday and beautiful weekend that we have ahead of us. Okay, so we're going to get right into some panel business. Panel members, as we get into approving our agenda, please clearly identify yourself when you begin speaking to make our second motion. So can I have somebody come off mute and make a motion to approve September's agenda? And Desiree, I see your hand is up.
Does the agenda, Desiree Straight, does the agendas and the approval, the minutes need to be grammatically correct? Because on the agenda, you have approval for July's agenda.
Well, thank
Oh,
you.
thank you.
Okay.
So since you're off mute, Desiree, and would you like to make a motion to approve the September agenda with the correction?
Yes, Desiree motion that we approve the September agenda with the correction.
Thank you. Would somebody like to second that? Christy.
Christy Smith, Child Care Aware of Kansas. I second that motion.
Okay. Can I have a thumbs up, hands up, all those voting yes? Thank you. For all those voting no, same sign. Right, it looks like we have consensus. Moving on to the August notes, minutes. Can I have somebody please make a motion to approve our August minutes as presented?
Before we do that, Desiree Straight here. On page 3, the work group says 2025 options. Shouldn't that say 2025, 2026?
It should, Desiree. And I just love having you on our panel to help us with those corrections. Honestly, this morning I pointed out something that we missed in 2024 on our website. So Lindsay and I truly do appreciate that. So if somebody would love to approve those minutes with the corrections, we will get that taken care of.
This is Cornelia Stevens from Top Area Learning Centers. I'd like to approve the August minutes with the corrections noted.
Thank you, Cornelia. Do I have somebody who would like to second those, please?
Desiree Straight, I second.
Okay, if we can get a thumbs up or a hands up to approve those. Okay, and then for anybody who may not approve those, same sign. Thank you. All right, we are going to move on. That is the main business of our meeting. And again, Desiree, thank you. We're going to move right into the Kansas Open Forum. The Kansas Open Forum is an opportunity of anybody within our state who wants to share something that they may find beneficial, have value, and anything that may really support the work of the panel. Unfortunately, we don't have anybody who would like to share at this meeting. So really challenge our panel members as you go back to your communities and coalitions you may be working with, really great bright spots or anything that might be a challenge. Please work with your community members to be a part of our open forum, because we would really love to engage and have that conversation at the local level. So challenge the panel members to work with that within their communities. But instead of just skipping the Kansas Forum, as I shared in our previous meeting, that we're really going to try and be pointed and find newsworthy information to share and celebrate things that are happening in Kansas. So Lindsay, if you want to move to the next one. So instead of a specific Kansas article, I wanted to share something that was a national news with a Kansas impact. And it was a recent report that came through the Administration for Children and Families, ACF. And it really, really highlighted the good work of our home visiting program in the state. And I thought, what a great opportunity to share, because we also have as a panel member Holly Fry from the Kansas Department of Health and Environment, who oversees this program. And so I know she was very excited about this within her own ecosystem at Health and Environment. But I really wanted panel members to understand that there are multiple home visiting programs within our state, and this is just one of them. And love that the study really echoed that when you have intentional interactions between home visitors and families, that they have resulted in improvements for families' economic circumstances, reduce family conflict and violence. So how does this not align? So I'm answering my own question. Does this align with the All In for Kansas strategic plan? And it does, because we really look for that all families thrive and children thrive. And the McVie program really illustrates that in that area. But I really want to say that I didn't create this lovely map, and I did not create the little pink squares to really illustrate. And so I want to take this opportunity to share with panel members and anybody on the live stream that there's this amazing resource embedded within KDHEs. If you were ever curious of what maternal and health programs supported my county, I want to share that with you. So if you give me, oh, Lindsay, you're going to have to give me a request to share. Okay, thank you very much. But I really wanted to share with you guys this, again, amazing map. And it's a really dense map, so it is taking a minute to show up. It's really a data dashboard. And when you first land on the site, it can be overwhelming, because look at the layers in the state of Kansas of all the maternal health and child programs. But when you zoom out and you really want to know what is happening, so exactly with the McV program, so on the right side of your screen, I just wanted to know what's happening in McV and where is that program being served in the state of Kansas. And then if I want to know, everything's highlighted, about the special health care needs and where the regional offices are, I can really zoom out and just look at that. And then what I love about this map is it also gives me a point of contact within the programs at KDHE. And then if you were very, very interested and wanted to know more about your community, you also have it break down over here for Saline County, who the point of contact is, where they serve. So this is an amazing tool and dashboard that I think is hidden and many do not know within our ecosystem about the programs that are really serving families. And I'm going to pause for a minute because this is not my work. It's not my program, and wanted to see if putting Holly on the spot, if there's anything she'd like to say about this dashboard.
I'm just glad that you were willing to share it, Melissa. Because yeah, we have great services across the state and always want to do better to connect families to those services. And like the study and news that you shared about the proven outcomes that come from home visiting, I think anytime we have the opportunity to communicate that, it's good because they really do make a difference. And also looking at this map, I'm thinking McV has done some expansion and we're continuing to expand and maybe some of our other programs too. So we'll have some updates coming to reflect those expansions.
Thank you, Holly. But it's a really good tool, especially when you're having community conversations of what's happening in my community, what resources are available. And I worked at KDHE a really long time, and I didn't even know this tool existed until much later on in my tenure there. So I just really want to make sure that the panel provides connection points for panel members and for anybody joining us. So thanks for all of your hard work, Holly, because I know through your leadership that we wouldn't be in that, we wouldn't have such a good outcome with this program. So I want to thank Holly personally. And also, again, please use this as a resource for community conversations. Okay, so we are going to get into some panel introductions where again, 50% of our panel is new, where we all get to know each other a little bit more intimately. We ask that you keep it to 1 to 2 minutes, but really share who you are, what organization you represent, and we'll start with Maritas.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to see all of you on this beautiful Friday morning. My name is Maritas Altuna, and I represent the Kansas State School for the Blind, which is the state agency that serves children and youth who are blind or visually impaired in our state. My role focused on coordinating free vision services to infants and toddlers with visual impairments across the state in partnership with KDHE and the Infant Toddler Services of Kansas. We also provide professional developments on topics related to visual impairments. And we are open to providing in service in your organizations or training if you so desire. I am honored to be a returning panel member, and I look forward to collaborating with all of you to strengthen our early childhood systems. A little bit of data. So in 2024-2025 school year, we've logged in 8,006 hours in joint home visits. We have 9 providers that are located in various geographical locations in the state. And our team has driven 69,997 miles in 6 months between November to June to reach families across the state. As of July 1st, I have new data, but I don't have it yet. We currently serve 238 infants and toddlers who are blind or visually impaired, and we are providing services at this time across 51 counties in Kansas. So thank you for the opportunity to serve alongside you.
Thank you, Maritas. Somebody who lives in Western Kansas, the mileage is always amazing. So I appreciate you throwing in that, because that is a huge, that means you are connecting to all of Kansas. So just love that little data point. I think that's one that often goes overlooked. Sarah. And I can't see everybody, so I'm not sure if Sarah's here today. So we will move on to Rebecca.
Good morning. I'm Rebecca Clancy. I work for Russell Child Development Center, and we are out here in the southwest corner of Kansas. Nonprofit early childhood organization that's been around since 1965. We provide services in 19 counties. And this past year, we served a little over 5,000 children. We have a variety of programs and funding streams. So we do have an infant toddler grant providing the Part C services in 13 counties. And we have an early childhood block grant where we have several programs, home visiting based programs, and our Learn and Play that we provide in 19 counties. We have an MCH grant that we provide perinatal support for families, and we are a newly funded McVie grantee. So we will be engaging and expanding parents as teachers. And we are an umbrella for a CACFP home sponsorship, where we work directly with childcare providers. I think that's about all I have. I'm a native of Southwest Kansas, so I take great pride in representing our children and families that reside out here, traveling those miles and meeting the diverse needs of our communities.
Thank you, Rebecca. Janelle Dean.
Hi, I'm Janelle Dean. I am the director of Asbury Child Development Center here in Wichita. Only for another month. My husband and I are purchasing a program. So we will be taking over that program hopefully in January. So that's a big, exciting change for us, going from nonprofit to for-profit and being owners. So I've worked in a variety of roles. I've worked at Child Care Aware of Kansas. I've been a director and assistant director for a couple of centers here in Wichita. So, and I just finished my bachelor's in early childhood this year as well. So.
Thank you, Janelle, and congratulations. Kelly.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Kelly France Langford. I am the director of TARC's Children's Services and Assistive Technology Department. Our largest program is the Infant Toddler Services of Kansas program. We serve around 850, 900 kids a year in Shawnee County. and that is what I'm representing on this panel. But we also have a program that we call our PACT program. It's for parents and children together, and it focuses on supporting and building community between parents that have either challenges in learning challenges or challenges in retaining information, and it's centered around supporting them in parenting. We run a feeding clinic for Shawnee County that's birth through teen. And we also have an assistive technology department that supports the lifespan as well. This is, I think, my third year on the panel. I did take a gap year, but I'm excited to be back, and I enjoy the work that this panel does.
Thank you, Kelly. So when you say gap year, I'm thinking, did she travel Europe? Was she backpacking at the same time? Because I really hope so.
I wish. No, not that fun.
Oh, all right. Thank you. Kimberly Kennedy. I don't think we have.
Hello.
Okay, Kimberly, you are okay.
Yeah, sorry about that. I'm having a little lag with my internet this morning for some reason. So if I freeze up, I might just go off camera. But we'll try it. So my name is Kim Kennedy, and I am from the Northeast Kansas area. I work for the Department of Children and Families based out of Topeka, and I'm the Head Start Collaboration Director. The Head Start Collaboration Office is sometimes referred to as the HISCO or the Collab Office. I have been with DCF for 21 years, a little over 21 years, and I've served as the HISCO director for the past 15 years. Before coming to DCF, I worked for almost 12 years in varying capacities with the early childhood and early childhood special education systems. A lot of people ask, what is the Head Start Collaboration Office? What does that mean? The Collab Office was authorized under the Federal Head Start Act, and the intent of the role for the HISCO is to facilitate collaboration among Head Start agencies and entities that carry out activities designed to benefit low-income children and families from birth to school entry. The Collaboration Office is federally funded through a non-competitive grant from the Department of Health and Human Services, Administration for Children and Families, and the Office of Head Start. And this is a 5-year grant that is renewed annually. And then along with that is a 5-year strategic plan that the Collaboration Office writes and then follows those goals for the 5-year grant period. And I'll talk more about that strategic plan in a minute here. But I just wanted to share the mission, the Head Start collaboration offices, their role looks a little different from state to state because not all states are the same. And I did forget to mention that part. There is one collaboration director in every state. Some states, the larger states, might have an assistant director. And where those offices are housed also varies from state to state. So within Kansas, like I said, we're in the Department for Children and Families. Some states might be in the Department of Education. So it just kind of depends on where that preference is from state to state. So the mission of the Kansas Head Start Collaboration Office is to create a visible presence for Head Start at the state level while assisting in the development of significant multi-agency public and private partnerships. And these partnership initiatives support and enhance the capacity of early childhood programs and just to help improve the opportunities that affect low-income children and their families. So the scope of work of the Collab offices have been defined by the Office of Head Start Federal Priority Areas, and there are 5 federal priority areas, and I'll just kind of briefly summarize those. The first one is just to collaborate with state systems early childhood alignment. The second is to work with state efforts to collect data and use that data for early childhood programs just to help decide, guide decision making and improve child and family outcomes. 3, to support the expansion and access of a high quality workforce. And 4, to coordinate with school systems just to ensure continuity and alignment across the programs. So as I mentioned earlier, it is a requirement for the collaboration office to develop a 5-year strategic plan. And so that 5-year strategic plan is designed to align with those federal priority areas. But in addition, it also has aligned with our All In for Kansas Kids state strategic plan. I am currently in the 5th year of a 5-year strategic plan. So this most recent plan that I am working off of, again, was designed to align with All In for Kansas Kids state strategic plan. And of course, the new 5-year grant period, which will begin in the spring of 2026, that strategic plan will continue that alignment. Because as you can tell with the 4 priority areas that I briefly named, there's, so much that already aligns with that state strategic plan. So it just makes sense to coordinate there. Some of the activities, well, one of the things that I find most rewarding about my job is just being able to connect Head Start programs and families with resources and information. And while the role of the HISCO and the Kansas Head Start Association are different, we do work closely together to coordinate these resource connections that are made for Head Start programs and families. I was going to list some of the activities that the collaboration office has been involved with in the past, at least within the past 5 years, but I feel like I've probably overtalked my time limit. So I will just say, as a panel member, I look forward to building more partner connections to help further strengthen state connections with Head Start programs. And if anybody has any questions for me or wants to connect with me to, find out more information or about some of the activities the collaboration office has been involved in, I'm always open to that conversation. So just happy to be here.
Thanks, Kim. And I think what we will do is have you back. You are going to join as a panel member every month, but we will have you back as the Head Start coordinator and do a deeper dive into your program and collaboration efforts across the state and flesh out some of those strategies. So I think you planted an amazing seed for us to really look forward to this next year, and made my world a little bit easier when I'm looking for topics for people to deep dive in. So appreciate that. Thank you so much. And we have some absences today, so we're going to move straight on to Desiree.
Good morning. So I'm Desiree Strait. I'm an early childhood educator, an advocate, and a family child care provider from Kingman, Kansas. I did 10 years as a special ed para in our local elementary school, and then I opened Little Explorers Play School in 2017, a nationally accredited family child care program. I'm very passionate about offering high quality care, and to do so, I've pursued a number of professional development opportunities to strengthen my work since opening my program. I love family childcare so much because I have such a unique opportunity of supporting the whole family, not just the child, and I love being that resource for them. So beyond my program, I serve as the current secretary of the Child Care Provider Coalition of Kansas. I'm a member of my Kingman County Child Care Task Force. I sit on the Southwest Kansas Interagency Council for Children that supports our infant toddler services in the western part of the state. I participate in the Kansas Breastfeeding Coalition Child Care Sector meetings, and I am currently collaborating with the Heartland Farm to School and Early Childhood Education Institute working to build sustainable access to local foods for our CFP childcare homes across Kansas. So in these various roles, I have had opportunities to advocate for childcare awareness, help secure grants to expand our local resources, and I've been given opportunities to collaborate with people across the state to support our children and families. I now look forward to being a part of the recommendation panel, where I hope that I can continue to contribute in shaping our statewide policies and systems that support our children and families and providers.
Thank you, Desiree. I look forward to one of the things that I want to hear more about at a later time is your CACFP efforts. I think that is amazing to look at thinking about farm to table and sustainable. So can't wait. Wrote that down. Love to hear more and bring in our CACF partners to hear more how we support, especially when we're such a farming state, what that looks like. So thank you for all of our panel members for your introductions this morning. And we're going to move straight into our business summit updates. Want to give, again, a warm introduction to Mandy Waugh with Child Start. And I really want our panel members to know that when we bring forth a speaker, that I am very deliberate in making sure that there is value. Again, love that word, value to the work, and how we really face our challenges in our states. And I really appreciate the innovative and forward motion of Child Starts in this business sector. And with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Mandy.
Good morning, everyone. Like Melissa said, my name is Mandy Waugh. I am the Early Childhood Connections CCR&R Region 2 Program Director over here at Child Start. Just a little bit of background on this business summit. So last summer, we were able to come together and bring our childcare providers to a working business summit where we had other professionals come in and do offer some professional development to really help them understand that they are a small business, and to see how we could increase best practices among those businesses. During that lunchtime, we offered to have some of these other businesses come in, these employers, and have a working lunch with them, to get together with them, to kind of get to know them a little bit more, and hopefully plant that seed of how can we work together, right? What are your needs? What are my needs? And how we can really collaborate moving forward. So from that summit came this business summit, our employer summit. We were very thankful to work with so many great community partners. As you can see, their logos are on here. We have a small little group that gets together, and it's just spitfiring ideas, what it is we can do to support the community. The idea of this employer summit was to help employers understand the needs of their employees and how that ties to childcare. Can you go to the next slide, please? Thank you. So what I did throughout this presentation was I broke down our agenda for the day to kind of explain just a little bit more as to all of the pieces that we put together. So this one right here was all of our employers that very much shared how unique all of their needs are. So you can see the different employers that we had there. So Cox Machine, Hilton Garden Inn, Hunter Health, and McConnell Air Force Base. One of the things that Cheryl had shared with us was that she works in a manufacturing area where there are multiple shifts that need coverage. So it's not just your traditional hours. There are night hours and weekend hours. And the way she explained it, in my head, I just thought, wow, from an HR standpoint, that would be very difficult to want to work with your employees and help them find childcare. So what I did was I did a little digging, and I found Within the Wichita area, we have 7 childcare providers that offer evening, nights, and weekends. And of those 7, currently, they have 37 openings. But if you think of how big Cox Machine is, those 37 openings probably are not enough. So that just kind of steamrolled in my head, and we need to really help her connect with those providers so we can help fill some of those spots. Andre was able to share with us, being in the hospitality space, that he has multiple shifts as well too. So that has been something that has been a little bit of a challenge for him in helping his employees find childcare as well. As you can imagine, Amy, working with Hunter Health, those nurses, those shifts are often a 12-hour shift, and that can be a little difficult too. When you think of traditional childcare hours, not programs are not always open the same time that these shifts are, so that can be a little bit of a barrier as well. And then working with Chelsea, some of you might be familiar with the Operation Care Connect that we had a few months ago, where we pulled in a bunch of our child care providers and had McConnell come out and speak to them and ask, for their assistance and see how it is that we could partner with them so that when, the Air Force Base, when they have these weekend drills and stuff, we can accommodate them with these providers. So all of this together was really one of those events, just this little piece here, that I really felt like could be replicated anywhere across the state. So we work really closely with the chamber, right, and having those connections, the Workforce Alliance. This was very much one that I really enjoyed getting all of these different perspectives. So like I said, I do feel like in other communities, larger, smaller, this would be something that you could replicate. Lindsay, could you go to the next one, please? Okay, so this particular piece was very interesting. So Keith Line is the CEO and president of the Workforce Alliance of South Central Kansas. Pete Najera, the president and CEO of United Way of the Plains. And then Ricky Ellison is one of the vice presidents over there at the Greater Wichita Partnership. And the three of them coming together just had this very intense conversation. And one of the things that we highlighted during this piece was the ALICE report. Now, if you are not familiar with the ALICE report, it stands for Asset Limited Income Constrained Employed. And what that really highlights is households who are financially struggling, but they earn too much to really qualify for some of the assistance. Now, for me, the best part about this was before we started this process, they kept talking about the ALICE report, and I had no idea what it was. So I was very thankful to increase my knowledge. I don't have it on here for you, but in one of the slides, we have a QR code that can link you to it because it is a lengthy 17-page document. And I don't think Melissa has time for me to go through all of that today. So that learning about that report was very important. And it's one that does, they do that throughout different states. So just wanted to highlight that piece of them talking about that. One of the
Mandy,
things
we do have it pulled up. If we
Oh,
do
do
actually
you?
have it pulled up, if you would like to just see it, and we were prepared thinking that you might want to show it. So if you would like to, we can pull it up, and if you want us to go to any piece, we can.
I didn't have any particular piece. I was going back through it again, and everything in there is so mind-blowing, but it's information that all of us across all of these different organizations definitely needs to just be aware of what our community struggles are. So it was one that just learning more about, right? I'm all about understanding resources that are around here and what I can do to better my community. And this particular report was extremely beneficial.
And it's on screen now. And I did look at it after Mandy and I met to discuss this, and it does provide a snapshot that we're not always used to looking at. Again, it's another form of data that really provides a gap to understand where families are and I think that gap, no pun intended, with do I qualify for support, but I don't, and it's just such a vicious cycle that families have to go through. And so I appreciate you highlighting that, Mandy, and then and you guys tackling that in your business summit of trying to keep the workforce going, and that is such a reality of families and workers, not childcare workers, but just the workforce. So yeah, this is a great piece of data for all of Kansas.
Yes, no, I agree. Well, and one of the big focuses is, the childcare and the workforce. It's an economic development, right? It's how we can keep Wichita going, right? It's how we want to bring businesses here. So that was very much highlighted within this piece, is the importance behind that economic development. Okay, next slide, please. So Keith and John and Michelle had this amazing, intense energy when they were on the platform speaking. Michelle is actually one of our attorneys, and we work really closely with her. And she was up there, and the words that she was speaking were so powerful. I had goosebumps. And just the appreciation that we have behind their support, and talking about these tax credits and what that looks like. What we have found out is that applying for this tax credit is not one of the easiest things. Now, we know we don't always want everything to be easy, but when we're trying to work on solving some issues and we get down into this rabbit hole of a lot of paperwork, and it's like, man, is the return going to be worth it on this? So some of the next strategies that we have is looking into that tax credit and how we can maybe adjust it. How do we make it easier? What do we need to do to support our employers so that this amazing benefit that is sitting out there can be utilized? Next, please, Ms. Lindsay. Thank you. So this piece here was Becky Tuttle. She is one of our city council members. She's actually sits on our board here at Child Start. Becky and Hunter had this amazing conversation that was completely data driven. Now, I don't have a copy of her slides. I'm still working on trying to get my hands on that. And if you're one of those data people, then you would have just been in heaven. I like data, but not that much. And this was just this great snapshot of what it is that we can do moving forward, and just little pieces of information and how we can, tweak what it is that we see, right? If we don't like something and we don't see that it's working, what can we do to come together and make a difference, right? And make that change. The next slide. Okay, perfect. So this was something that we had offered to our attendees as a resource. So we offered the Alice report. We had a childcare white paper that one of our partners had been working on. And then we had a sample of a childcare needs survey for employers to, reach out to their staff to see what their needs were. If you don't ask, then you don't know, right? I always say that if you don't know, you don't know. So this one here was just a sample of what employers could do to ask their employees what their needs were. The idea behind all of this information is to see how employers can meet the needs of their employees so that they stay, right? Because we know that it costs more for an employee to leave, to hire someone else, to retrain someone else. So what is it that these employees need from their employers to support them when it comes to their childcare needs. The last one here, that QR code actually goes to, it says it's from Childcare Aware of Kansas. They have an amazing page that has a support on here, and it has data on here, but this is all for businesses, right? This is for our employers, and it offers so many different resources that we couldn't help but add that to our little notebooks that we handed out to our attendees. So One Community is a partnership here in the Wichita area who is trying to help employers when it comes to those different costs behind childcare. Last night, we actually went to an event that United Way was supporting new innovative ideas, and One Community was one of the recipients to receive some funds to continue with these efforts. So they are working with how they can lessen the burden on providers and help them to retain their employees, do some of that back end work, some of the financial pieces, those HR pieces, so that they can focus on the children. Ms. Lindsay? So I always appreciate really good feedback, and regardless of what it is, that's what I appreciate. And what we did was on the tables, we had these QR codes where people could complete a little questionnaire, what is it that you want to see next steps wise, right? This was one of the questions, is one thing I can explore doing in my organization. So what are those next steps? So this is the answers that we got. Now, not everybody completed it, but not everybody wrote an answer. But just going through this, you can see the positive response that we got back. People were listening and they were taking in all of the information. So this right here that you see is the feedback from the summit. So Melissa and I kind of went through these, and I really appreciated some of these people, wanting to review the tax credits, thinking about the floating hours. When that first panel that you saw, one of the employers had mentioned that they give their employees 4 hours of kind of like that flexible hours. So if they need to get their child to school, let's say maybe they start a little bit later, then they have like that extra hour where it doesn't hurt their 40 hours that they have. And I thought that is a really good idea. Like, what a great way for an employer to be flexible and not make that employee stress that they might lose an hour or have to use PTO, but their employer is supporting them, trying to get their child to where it is they need to go. I appreciate the looking at possibilities of providing non-traditional hours. It's one of those things that we try to increase with some of our providers so that we can offer, like I mentioned, Hunter Health, those nurses running 12-hour shifts. The big one that I really enjoyed was supporting existing family-friendly workplace. That's what we want to see, right? We want to support all businesses in providing that family-friendly workplace. The partnerships with childcare providers and ways that they can continue that partnership. A while back, one of the employees over at the Workforce Alliance, she and I got together and we created this creative childcare connections. And it's something that we need to revamp. It was going well, but what we were doing was she was taking employers that needed childcare to help their employees, and I was finding childcare providers in the area that she was requesting. So what we did was we were holding this Zoom video during nap time, right? So we could be respectful to the childcare and their schedule. And we would kind of create this profile so that they could put, if they wanted to share their prices, they could, but their schedule, any kind of curriculum that they do, anything like, are they accredited in any kind of way? And we would showcase this provider to these employers. We got a few hits. It didn't go as well as we wanted it to, but we were very thankful that we at least started that initiative. So I appreciate that somebody on here said that they wanted to connect with those educators. Melissa, you came off mute. Did you want to say anything?
No, I was just off mute waiting for the next transition, but I will say, selfishly, when Mandy and I looked at these, the feedback she received, that we do have a work group with family-friendly workplaces, that these are great threads to think about with that work group. And what we want to tug on as a state, and not just isolate it in your own community. So we selfishly planted these, knowing that we were meeting in our work groups today, and this might spur some additional thoughts, actions within that work group. And not only just their work group, but can also impact the ecosystem and some of our targeted journey. This is cross-cutting conversation. So really hoped that you guys would look at it that way. Mandy, I'll pass it back to you.
Okay, thank you. So all of this coming together, we actually are creating a video to wrap up some of the summit. And what we're doing is, a coalition of the willing. Are you willing to step forward and continue this work with us? I don't have the video right away, but once we get that out, it's definitely something that I'll share with the rest of the panel. But it is very much a call to action. This isn't something that, we had the summit and we did what we could, and better luck next time. We're gonna keep going. We really are. So we have amazing community partners that we continue to meet with. Hopefully we'll be able to take all of this information and come up with the next steps, right? This isn't the end of it. So what do we get to keep? What do we get to keep doing as we move forward? Okay. So I thought that was the end.
No, I planted this next slide just to make sure that in my mind and in the panel, is this topic relevant to the current ecosystem? And it is, right? We need a robust workforce to be able to move forward as a state. It's a very much an economic driver, and at the same time also supporting the workforce that is the child care provider. So it's a reciprocal relationship. Sometimes it's not an easy one. Really appreciated Mandy highlighting the non-traditional hours, and I feel for families who do shift work and what does that look like. And then I feel for the programs on site here that are a part of the panel that have to try to accommodate their own family needs and the families that they're serving. So it is not an easy topic, but love that Mandy and Child Start is really moving that forward. And again, have that long list. We will have that available to the workplace work group. So if there are topics you wish to explore, we definitely have that available for you. And thank you, Mandy, for sharing, and love the Coalition of the Willing, because I think the panel is that. We are the Coalition of the Willing in a different way, because you apply to be a part of this and be a part of the conversation that we're having. So thank you, guys.
Thank you.
And more to come. Can't wait to hear your next initiatives on this, Mandy. Okay, we're going to talk about our work groups, which I am really excited to get you guys into. If I can get Lindsay to advance to our next slide. Okay, so we're going to take a deep dive into work group assignments. And I was in a meeting yesterday, and my friend Sharon Filtz with Casito shared this quote: "Life begins at the end of your comfort zone." And I'm like, I'm still that, Sharon. And I love it because what I want to encourage you guys as you get into your work groups today is that we should be having uncomfortable conversations. If we all agreed, we wouldn't be a part of this panel. And the only way you move work forward is with those uncomfortable conversations. And I love this frame. And I also love that it represents Kansas so well because of our sunflowers that we had about 3 weeks ago blooming, if you were definitely in the right spot of the state. And they're just breathtaking. And so really felt like this exemplifies the work that the panel does. So as we get into the work groups, if we can get into the next slide, we have 5 working groups. We have a new one, which is the ECE collaboration, the family-friendly workplaces, the mental health supports, the targeted journey recruitment, and the system progress communications. Everybody has appreciated you taking the time to do the survey as we placed you into your work groups for this next year. And appreciate those who step forward. One of the tasks you're going to see later on is looking at establishing at least a co-lead structure in your work group for the family-friendly workplaces. Thank you, Melissa, for Martin for stepping up. And then mental health supports. We're still looking for a co-lead within that group as you guys meet today. Targeted journey recruitment. Amy, appreciate that. And Amy has shared that she has led that group for the last, definitely the work of the last year. With other commitments, she would be willing to co-lead, but if somebody else would be willing to do that when you guys get into that group today. Systems progress communication is still missing a lead, and Christine Smith has stepped up for the ECE collaboration. So wanted to throw those names out there as you get into your work groups later on. I also wanted to prepare the work groups. And as we heard earlier with the Head Start collaboration and the work that Mandy is doing, and how does this all align with the strategic plan that Kansas has for our ecosystem. And I spent some time, and you may have seen these slides before, but really wanted to update and make sure each group had one. But really wanted to give you guys, and again, this is not work that you have to tackle, but it just gives you an idea for your work group of how does what we want to accomplish within the ecosystem align with the state plan. So we looked at each goal, the goal, the workforce, and the family and children's goal, and picked some tasks that really align within those pillars. So again, nothing that your group has to decide upon, but we wanted to give you some a framework to begin when you join in your work groups in a little bit. So here is the ecosystem. And we can move forward, Lindsay. We also created one for the family-friendly workplaces, and then one for our next is our mental health supports, and then one for the targeted journey recruitment, and then one for our systems progress communications. So we really want to take the legwork from you guys when we can and take that lift. So you have these slides as a blueprint to where you want to go within your work groups. Next slide, please, Lindsay. And then really wanted to set the tone for the work groups when you all meet this morning. We're going to charge you with really going back to the executive order, that you identify opportunities for and really remove barriers to improving how agencies and programs coordinate, improve, or better align. That's really, I simplified it quite a bit from the executive order, but really we want to have you guys poke holes and also celebrate where we are aligning work well within the early childhood system, but where can we improve? And then wanted to remind everybody that through this process with your work groups, you're not going to end with you may not end with a final recommendation, and that's okay. That really what we're looking at is how do we work better together? And they're not a requirement of the panel, but you might have a suggestion, which is not necessarily a recommendation, of collaborating, and again, the open dialogue, and submitting information that was an aha moment from your work group to the All In for Kansas Kids website. So again, making sure that everybody felt comfortable and not that complete charge that you have to end your work group with a recommendation. And then moving forward on to work group tasks. We want to make sure that when you meet today that you again confirm co-leads. They're going to facilitate the group meetings that are there to really help keep those conversations moving forward in your work groups. And then we want to identify someone to take notes, and we provided you with the template, and we're really going to ask that you use the template so that it is a guidepost for your work group meetings. And then identify somebody, because it doesn't always have to be the co-lead, to report back to the full panel. And you'll note the very big aggressive box on the side is that the new moving forward at every panel discussion was we're going to have an update from the work groups. We're going to be asked that you engage monthly with the full panel with progress, feedback, questions. You could be stuck in your work group and you want input from the full panel. I think that's what is amazing about the work that we have forward, we put forth. And you might have input or requests. So just making sure that we continue that regular cadence, because that will be a new agenda item for those who have served on the panel before. And then Lindsay and I are here to be your work group support. I'm going to review your notes monthly. I'm going to join your work groups. I will float in and out of your work groups. That's the great ability of Zoom and our small groups. And then we will facilitate any outside support or requests that you may have. So you might be tugging on an idea in your work group and you want somebody to come in and give you more data, or you might want some expertise. Lindsay and I will work to facilitate that. We will review recommendations, or I will review recommendations as you get closer. And remember, this is an advisory group to the Children's Cabinet. So we want to make sure that any recommendation that we push forward aligns with the mission of the Children's Cabinet. And then we have your SharePoint Hub, which is your first thing that comes to mind when I think of a SharePoint, it's like your briefcase of all the tools that you take to a meeting, and it's in a virtual form. And your SharePoint has your template, it has your work group folders, it has links to the strategic plan, it has links to your agendas and any of our PowerPoints right at the tip of your fingers so that you can refer back to those resources and not have to do so much digging. Lindsay, do you want to take a minute and just remind and acclimate everybody to our SharePoint?
Yes, sorry, having a couple of technical difficulties, so apologies, but let me share that really quick. So most of your emails from me have the link to this, but I will reshare it again. And if you're on the homepage for the SharePoint Hub for the panel, we have, as a reminder, updates from each meeting and other highlights that we want to make sure and share with you. So anytime you click on one of these panel meetings, it'll have a recording, a summary, links to all the materials. As Melissa mentioned, we have quick links to other resources. If there's a resource that you feel like should be here or you would want quick access to, whether that's on the homepage for all panel members, or if you want anything added or shared just for your work group, just reach out. And this is your resource. This is your place for all of the information for collaboration as a group. So reach out and we will work on making this fit whatever needs you can identify. If you click on documents over here on the left, you can see we have a panel meetings folder, which has all of the panel meetings resources and information that's shared. And if you go back to documents and click on work groups, each of your work groups has a folder. So right now there's not much in them, but you can use this as a collaboration space. So for example, I'll just click on the ecosystem ECE collaboration. So there's a full a document that has all of the members. So these are the members and the contact information, and we're going to have these up on screen here in a moment as well for everyone. Just as a heads up, if you have not heard from us, you were placed into your first choice work group. And if you did hear from us, as a heads up and to check in with you, if we needed to place you into your second choice, we did have to do some shuffling just to make sure that the work groups had a little bit of a balance across members for the group. So Melissa may mention that as well, but this information is here so you can easily get in contact with everyone. And as Melissa mentioned, the work group summary or the notes template is located here as well. So you can just save a new copy for each time that you meet and document, what you talked about, what your next steps are, all of those things. Melissa, anything you want to say about the notes template while it's up here on screen?
Yeah, I do. It's a template and it's a guide if there is and it always has room for improvement. It's a living document. So as you guys modify it, or you feel like you want to add a column, or this doesn't make sense, or you want to adapt it into a different way, please just share with us because I'm always open for room for improvement. So again, this is a guide, but we definitely love taking feedback. So as you get in your groups and whoever's the note taker, if you again adapt it, please share.
Great. So again, this is a folder everyone should have access. If you're still having trouble accessing the SharePoint Hub, please reach out and I will continue to work with our IT to try to fix that. But you can upload documents to share here with your members. You should be able to collaborate in this space. So multiple people could open a document and work on it at the same time or work on it asynchronously. Sometimes those features, as lovely as they are, work better than others. I know I run into that sometimes where it's like, great idea, but sometimes we have issues. So understand that there are, like sometimes those things don't work smoothly, but in theory, this is a space where you should be able to do that, which is really nice. Instead of having to like email a document and then someone makes updates and emails it back to the group, you should be able to put it in a shared space where multiple people could access it and make updates and changes. Which is what we've done with your 25-26 panel bios. So that is available here. We'll get it uploaded in a more static format on the Children's Cabinet website so that the system can know who our panel members are. But this has been put in this shared space so that you can quickly and easily make updates. Although please always reach out to myself or Bree. We can make updates as well. So any questions before I stop sharing this and send it back to Melissa for navigating this space?
Thank you, Lindsay.
Okay.
We'll give Lindsay a minute to get us back to our PowerPoints. Okay, so again, expect that as a regular agenda item moving forward. We will have a monthly update dedicated just to the work groups. Next slide, please. Okay, again, I cannot stress this enough. This is all about system collaboration. And if there's any group that you desire to have join us, we really want to make that happen, and really wanted to also stress that the panel is a system of lived experts yourself. When I went through the roster, looking at we are comprised of educators, early ed, higher ed, home visiting, childcare providers, licensing, resource and referral, commerce, professional development, disability supports, etc. So we have a wealth of knowledge within our own bank. And so we will use that too, beyond just bringing out other system supports. And now, I wish I had a drum roll. Now we're going to get right into the different work groups and where everybody's been assigned. So again, another listing, but the ecosystem, we have Michelle Adams. I am going to just stop reading names because I don't want to really butcher everybody's name, and I have not made a pointed effort to make sure how everybody's name is pronounced. So everybody can read off of our slide, and then what we really wanted to make sure you had are opportunities to explore. So we've given you 2 tools to use for when you get into your work groups to make sure that you have a good jumping off point for collaboration. Again, what we aligned with the strategic plan and some gentle ideas that we've heard bubble up through our conversation. So this is our ECE collaboration group. Next slide, Lindsay, please. And then we have our friendly workplaces, which we have 3 possible co-leads. So that's really exciting. And added in some also additional jumping off point with the further action steps shared by Mandy. So appreciate her adding to this work group. The next one is our system progress communication. And really looking at, again, some opportunities and really excited because I would love this work group to help us as a panel reimagine the governance summit that we have in February. So putting that gentle little seed within this group when they meet. Mental health supports. And thank you, Mandy, for being a possible co-lead for this group. So if we can find another one, that would be really great also. And then our last but not least group is our targeted journey. Okay, so hopefully everybody had an opportunity to write down which group they were assigned to. If not, Lindsay will help when we do disperse and we meet in our groups. But we have a few other just some housekeeping items that we wanted to take care of and share amongst the panel. Our system updates. We're going to start with some resources. I am really excited about our first event that's going to happen in our state. It's the Kansas Home Visiting Conference. It's going to be held at the end of this month. There are 5 locations across the state, and all of the participants will be joining virtually, and there are 500 plus attending. Some of the our Topeka site and I believe our Wichita site may be closed because we have maxed out on capacity that those venues could hold. But looking at a joint effort of all of the home visiting models coming together, especially as we are moving into the planning phase of the Office of Early Childhood. It's just an exciting event in our state. So really looking forward to being a part of that conference at the end of this month. The 2025 CCPC, which is the Child Care Providers Coalition Camp Connect. It's a time to refresh, recharge, and reconnect. I just loved the tagline with that. And you must be a CCPC member to register. If you want more information, there's the link there. And then the fall local ICC retreats. It's a free virtual event. Love the topic. It is screen time and young minds. What's the impact and what can we do instead? So you can register for that on the KSDE Tanzan site, but really hopeful that we have a great turnout for that event. And then, of course, the 49th Annual Governor's Conference on Prevention of Child Abuse and Neglect, and the 8th Annual Vision Symposium, which is free. It's a free day training that focuses on research and practice in specialized instruction for children. So really looking forward to all of these events. When we meet next month, if there is an event that you would like to highlight, please share and we'll get them on our calendar. And then we're going to end with some bright spots, which just honestly warm my heart. Wanted to share some really good work that's happening across the ecosystem. I love PBS, and when I was on PBS watching their nightly news, the next segment locally in the Smoky Hills area was Growing Together, which highlighted one of our panel members, which was Brenda Bandy. And I stayed on and I listened to all of the tips that they were offering for new families with breastfeeding. And so I learned a little bit, added to my skill set and my toolkit. So wanted to really highlight because just, again, love that Brenda was with me in my living room that evening. Our Kansas Parents as Teacher Association also highlighted and celebrated the Family, Friends, and Neighbors Appreciation Week. That was in September, and also comes on the tail end of Grandparents Appreciation. So House Bill 2045 does provide an opportunity for license exempt care and really expanding the time with our family, friends, and neighbors. So really wanted to highlight that. And then I am a big fan of all local libraries and found this on our next slides on the Ignite Hope firefighters who donated $2,500 to the Dolly Parton Imagination Library here in the state of Kansas. And look at that family photo. How can you not smile and be excited when that little lady got her first library card? So I just think that is a great monumental moment for families, and love that they were just as excited. And then this past month in Hayes, there was the local child care conference that really focused in on all providers in Northwest Kansas. And they had over 158 providers for that 2-day event, and providers walked away with 16 hours of professional development. And many partners on screen in the panel were also there to highlight their programs. And then I'm going to go down to the corner. Kansas, I think we should celebrate every time we have initiatives to move our work forward. And with the National Early Care and Education Workforce Center, Kansas is also the recipient of a very specific technical assistance to move along our career pathway. And it's not an opportunity that every state gets. So I appreciate DCF and Casito working together to make sure that we were a state that will be the benefactor of that very pointed workforce development. And we, along with Kansas, Oregon, and Pennsylvania, are meeting. And so really wanted to highlight that, and hopefully more to come, and put that as actually an opportunity in the targeted journey of the work with this cohort. And then last but not least, the picture that I really want to end with is might look very familiar to Maritas. It's the Kansas School of the Blind preschoolers. And I love that there are little trailblazers. If that is not a visual that doesn't make you smile, I don't know what is. What else would do it? It is really just for me, it reinforced that our littlest Kansans are getting their needs met in a safe environment that is really focused in on what they entail and embody with their name of trailblazers. So I miss going into preschools. I miss that just the excitement that a preschooler brings. And so I just loved that that photo that the Kansas School of the Blind shared on their page, and really wanted to end our time thinking that we are all trailblazers, and that we should never be so jaded or think in our work that we should not be moving forward and trailblazing just a new ecosystem for the children in our state. So again, I love stealing from you guys. So you've put it out on your public platform. I'm going to look for it, and I'm going to find it, and I'm going to put it as bright spots each and every month. And also forgot to share that Governor Kelly is seeking applicants for the director of the Office of Early Childhood. We have many professionals within the panel that I hope you exercise your opportunity if you're looking on a new professional challenge, and wanted to make sure that you were aware of that opportunity also. Okay, so bright spots summarized, and that being said, let's move to our key takeaways. Because you guys asked for that in the systems progress is, how do we summarize of what we learned today? And I think that one of the key takeaways from Mandy's presentation is that childcare is a vital business that fuels economic growth by enabling parents to work, increasing business productivity, and stimulating local economies through job creation and consumer spending. Traditional approaches used by childcare coalitions may be challenged when attempting to collaborate with local employees, as their framework and needs differ. So I think my takeaway from what I learned from Mandy is that when you start embracing employees, that you really need to look and think differently, maybe from our traditional standpoints when you're moving together communities. So really appreciated that she highlighted that and brought that to the table. And then really wanted to echo what I learned from the McVie study, is that intentional and direct support for families equate to thriving families. And yesterday I was on a home visiting meeting, and also Lisa Williams from Parents' Teacher, who I consider an amazing colleague and friend, said and reminded us that children don't come with a manual. And when we talk about what we're doing in our state, especially with the Office of Early Childhood, as that is coming together, that there's not necessarily a manual, but there's a blueprint of where we want to be at the end of the day. And so really making sure that we have those intentional components, especially even the ECE work group, when you guys are meeting and looking at what sounding board could you be that you are hearing in your own organizations about the Office of Early Childhood that we can help and assist with. So those are my takeaways from today's meeting, and hope that you have key takeaways as you know, that this brought value to your morning as we get ready to move to our work groups. So as a panel, we will be closing and we will be adjourning, and we will see each other again on October 17th. And we're going to take a 5-minute break where we will stop our live stream, and we will then get into our work groups. I do know that we are having some difficulty on the back end. So hopefully some technical difficulty, we will be able to resolve that. And we will be able to get everybody into their work groups. Also want to remind, if anybody would also like to join on October 3rd, the Children's Cabinet and Trust Fund will have a full board meeting from 9 till noon. And you can live stream that also from our YouTube channel. So it is right at 10:30 right now. So we are going to adjourn formally as a full panel, and then we will come back and see everybody in 5 minutes.